There. I don't want to push record with my glove on anymore. Like, oh, I'm glad I saw it didn't actually record. That would have been embarrassing for the two of us because it wouldn't have recorded. So we got out of Nocturnal Animals. It's hilarious.
I don't know about you. I'm a little depressed.
Well, I enjoyed the hell out of that movie.
You know, there's a lot of positives, and I'm not saying the movie's positive because it is not.
Oh no!
It is a fucking downer.
This movie will haunt you for days.
But though we'll talk about it here in a bit. Some of the movie's stronger, at least for me. Some of the movie is stronger than the other parts, but altogether, the story works really well. Told a pretty good narrative, has some great characters. So,
what this movie is about is Amy Adams lives a wealthy life running art galleries, and she suddenly gets a manuscript from her ex-husband, who's played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's for his new novel, which is called Nocturnal Animals. And it's kind of a dual movie. I would say a bulk of it, I would say the most screen time is probably what we're seeing from the novel.
Yeah, like the story within a story.
The story within the story, which is a revenge story in which Jake Gyllenhaal is with his wife and kid, and they're ran off the road by a group of rednecks led by Aaron Taylor Johnson. And
you know, it took me a while to figure out that was him, by the way.
I saw right away because I noticed his name in the opening credits. So if I didn't see his name in the opening credits, it might have taken me a while. But for a lot of reasons, honestly. One, he looks a little different in this movie, and also he's kind of hit or miss in his movies, and he's great in this.
Yes, very.
So his wife and daughter are raped and murdered, and then the rest of that has to do with him working with a cop who's Michael Shannon to at first bring these guys in and have them arrested, the ones who did it. But then it turns into a little more than that. It turns into like, we're gonna find these guys and fucking kill them. Meanwhile, we're also seeing how the story's affecting Amy Adams' character. We get to see a lot of stuff from their past, their marriage, what broke up their marriage, things that are going wrong in her current marriage to Armie Hammer. Goddamn, I love Armie Hammer. I love it. Anytime he shows up in a movie, that man is a treasure. I didn't even know he was in this until going to see it, but I'm like, fuck yeah, Armie Hammer's in this movie. Man, there was a lot to this movie.
Yeah, we were talking before. I was like, yeah, this is probably going to be one of those ones you can't take a lot of bathroom breaks to. Because if you miss anything in this movie, you're going to be lost.
I'm so glad I got all my urine out of my system in Office Christmas Party. Because I kind of had to use the restroom in a lot of this, but I'm like, I can hold it. I can hold it. I just won't go back to my diet root beer until after the review. Because, man, do I not know where this movie is going.
Yeah, you lose any of this movie, you're going to be lost. Because you have to be there for every beat. You have to see how the story progresses, how it affects Amy Adams' character throughout the whole thing. Because you start to see a lot of parallels, and especially with shots. They show him the bathtub at the same time in the story and in real life, and a couple other things in bed, and a couple other things. They start paralleling things, but yeah, if you miss any of this, you will be totally fucking lost.
This does something that I was noticing throughout this movie, and it has to do with characters' eyes. It's just how it's filmed. It's like, I can't put my finger on it, but it's how it's filmed. It's how it's shot. It's every character and their eyes in this film seems to kind of just tell you everything you need to know about this person. Yeah. Whether they're disturbing, whether they got some like dark backstory, or maybe some troublesome news that they've gotten in their life or something. Like, goddamn, this movie films eyes in a way that's haunting. The movie itself is really fucking haunting. Yeah, it's oh God, I mean this is the kind of movie that would-be screenwriters out there, people who want to get into writing, want to get into telling something that I haven't seen anything like this in theaters this year. This movie should be inspiring
Yeah.
for those people.
You know, you mentioned the eyes. They do kind of bring up eyes in the movie.
Yeah.
They talk about Amy Adams' character's eyes and how it reminds Jake Gyllenhaal's character of her mother.
Yeah,
So
Laura Linney.
they may have done that on purpose,
Uh-huh.
just because that way you would start looking at eyes.
Yeah.
Because, he's right. I mean, and the character of Michael Shannon.
Best character in the
he's,
movie.
He's my favorite character in the movie. I love me some Michael Shannon. And his character's eyes, he's always intense
Yeah.
in movies, but here he plays, I guess you'd call him like a detective, and his character, the story that's in the story takes place over a year or so.
Yeah.
Because there's the event that happens and the investigation. They kind of skip a lot of it, but they tell you, I talked to you a year ago or something like that. Well, his character develops lung cancer. And
so he just doesn't give a fuck.
It gets to a point, the good kind of Michael Shannon, where you want Michael Shannon to be.
Yeah.
The Michael Shannon that doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And does what Michael Shannon wants to do.
Doesn't give a shit because he's going to die soon, so he figures, you know what, if I'm going out, I'm going to take a few rapists with me.
There's a few times before we find out he has cancer, there's a few times I was saying to myself, he's been coughing a little bit. They kind of give you some hints.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking,
they do.
Oh, I hope this is where it's going.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it goes there. And as a big fan of Michael Shannon, I was quite excited. That brings me to my only real problem with the movie, and this isn't a big problem, is that I was more invested in the story inside the story. I would have loved to have seen that fleshed out into a movie.
Well,
not saying I didn't like the other stuff, not saying it didn't work together.
No,
it's just I liked what was going on there, that I would have loved to have seen that as a movie. That being said, this is still a really good movie, and it's still worth checking out.
In a movie like this that really has dual things going on, you're probably going to like one thing slightly more than the other. But in this, to me, they both complement each other.
Yes.
Well, they make it the unique film that it was. Now, if it was just this story about Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Shannon, yeah, it would have been good.
Yeah.
But it would have been something we'd seen before. It would have been something like Breakdown, but with like rape.
Yeah.
It would have been perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It still would have been suspenseful, but it would have been the kind of thriller that I'd seen before. Now, a movie that did something like that badly and this does incredibly well, a movie that I thought did this really badly was The Number 23. You remember that with Jim Carrey?
Yes.
And I remember in that movie, I was like, the fake story that it's showing in here is I'm kind of interested in it, but this means something. The number 23 plus this and this. I'm like, I don't give a shit about that. But I'm like, the stuff in like where he's kind of a killer in the story within the story, I'm like, I kind of like that. I'm glad it was the way it was, because it's like, look, I never thought I would see like Mulholland Drive meets Straw Dogs in my life. And I kind of did a little in this film. Yeah. There's a couple of qualms that I have with it. As great as this movie is, it has one of the worst opening credit sequences for a great movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, that opening sequence started happening, and it was burning holes in my eyes. And you didn't know where the hell it was going.
And then when it kind of showed where it was going, I'm like, okay, look.
You didn't need that.
This is like opening Blue Velvet with my grandma dancing naked with sparklers on there. It's like, look, I'm still going to think it's a great movie because it's Blue Velvet, but I'll be like, yeah, you could have done without my grandma dancing naked in front of the camera before the film.
Yeah, it has something to do with the art show that Amy Adams' character's showing, but it's like, you didn't need it. It could have had...
At least...
Not as excessive.
As the first images you see in this very disturbing film. Look, maybe the opening was put there because it's starting out making you slightly concerned and uneasy. It wants to start out making you feel a little uncomfortable. It's like, okay, if that's the point, I get it, but this movie still would have worked regardless.
Yeah, I would chop that part off.
To get into the ending of this movie, from here on out will be heavy fucking spoilers. I mean, we've already kind of spoiled it a little bit, but look, I'm highly recommending the movie. You should, a movie like this is always going to be polarizing.
Yeah.
Especially with the conclusion of the movie, but I highly recommend the movie. What I really took away from the ending was that, we're showing the Amy Adams stuff and the Jake Gyllenhaal stuff, and we're really seeing how, in a lot of ways, how she kind of fucked him over a little bit. Like, it takes two to make a divorce, but we're really kind of seeing really just a lot of kind of bad shit that sort of happened here. And what it looks to me like with Jake Gyllenhaal giving this book is that when she's reading this, she's finally seeing a lot of the fire and energy and passion that she kind of wanted out of him when they were married, when he was trying to be a writer. And now in present day in her life, things aren't great. She has another shitty marriage. Her husband's cheating on her. She's not exactly happy. So what it seemed to me from the ending was just kind of a final fuck you from Jake Gyllenhaal's character. And if that's how I interpret it, and if that's what it is, I get it. To me, that makes sense. Yeah, maybe there's some other things that could also make sense, but with that being said, while this whole movie is going on, you're wanting to see where this is going. You're wanting to see how these two things are going to intersect with each other. And while I'm pretty sure I get the final scene, it is relatively anticlimactic.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to say expecting more. I wanted more. I was expecting a resolution between the two characters.
Yeah, and kudos for going against what you would expect or want to expect. Kudos in that regard for trying something different there and still making it to where I'm highly recommending the movie. But when it ended, I was kind of like, okay, I wanted a little something more there. I'm not saying I wanted something incredibly cliched. I didn't want that necessarily.
It wouldn't have fit this movie.
No. But you spend this whole movie it's unpredictable. You can't wait to see where it goes. You're hoping it's going to end somewhere powerful. And it just has one of those endings where you're just like, huh.
Yeah.
All right, guess I'm going to grab my coat now.
It's like, oh, hey, there's the credits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta cuss the black and director. It's like, okay.
Like they were trying to do kind of a Gone Girl type thing. Although I did really like the ending of Gone Girl.
Me too.
I thought that ending was actually pretty fucking haunting. Yeah. I liked that ending better than I liked this one, honestly. But it's not taking away from how much I'm recommending the movie.
No, not at all.
It's by far one of the most interesting films I've seen of the year. I can't, there's nothing else this year that I could even compare this thing to. It's beautifully shot, wonderfully acted. There are great characters in this. And I do highly fucking recommend the movie.
Yeah, me too.
I do. It's very entertaining. It's disturbing. It's a disturbing film.
Yeah. Very character driven. Love the characters. The story, the way it goes back and forth, it keeps you interested the entire time. Yeah. Though, like we said, the ending's kind of, but it still keeps you there.
Yeah.
I don't need explosions at the ending.
No.
I mean, I guess you could look at it this way. It kind of took it, it had an artsy start, if you want to call it art. Artsy start and an artsy type ending, you know. And like you said, you're taking a chance. Why not? You know, especially if you're taking a chance on everything else in this movie.
Then you know what? Fucking go for it, man.
Yeah.
I never saw the director's other movie, Single Man. Did you see it?
It doesn't ring a bell.
I remember the movie, 2009. I think it was like 2009 that movie came out. I remember it, and I remember that being kind of polarizing when it came out. You kind of loved it or sort of was like, "Oh, I don't get it." But I never saw it.
Yeah,
I kind of want
it.
to after seeing this. Yeah. Tom Ford's the director's name. Did you like it better than the other Gyllenhaal movie you saw this year? Demolition? I didn't see Demolition.
Anything's better than Demolition.
Oh, is Office Christmas Party better than Demolition?
I'm talking Gyllenhaal stuff. No, I don't know. I mean, I got Demolition, just a different animal. It's just a weird story. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I don't remember everything. They forced a lot of stuff in that movie, like forced a lot of emotions.
I missed it when it came out.
I can't stand movies that force emotions down your throat. You should feel this way. I can't stand that. And that's the kind of movie it was. Movies like this that they let you decide how you want to feel.
Yeah.
I like movies that let you decide how you want to feel. I can't stand when I'm told what I'm supposed to feel during a movie. So, yeah, I
see what you mean.
I don't recommend Demolition, but you know,
not a lot of people did. I don't think.
Thankfully, I was a little worried because Gyllenhaal had a good string of movies, and then Demolition came out. But thankfully, you know, this one was good. And technically, you know, he was two different people in this movie. So
yeah,
he was
great in both.
He was the husband or the ex-husband, and he was the main guy in the story within
Tony.
a story. So and he was great in both.
Yeah, two of the best movies playing in theaters right now are also Amy Adams movies.
Yeah, that's
Arrival and
Arrival in this. So both I'd recommend. So I love Arrival too.
This is the better Isla Fisher movie that's playing now, as opposed to. What am I saying? Keeping Up with the Joneses isn't still playing.
I doubt it's. I doubt it's still there anymore.
In cities that still do the second run theaters, maybe, possibly. Look, like if you're sold on the concept, if you're sold on the trailer for this, yeah, go for it. I mean, just in general, I'm highly recommending the movie. But I mean, like, you know, it's the kind of movie where if I'm talking to somebody on the street or something like that, or talking to a friend, I'd maybe want to know what their taste in movies is before I would say, like, because I'm not going to go recommending my aunt see this movie.
Well, no, it's not going to be. It's not going to be for everybody. But if you like engaging type of movies,
if you want to be
disturbing, dark,
man. Yeah.
I would say watch it because Michael Shannon's awesome.
Fuck yeah.
But I say that about every Michael Shannon movie, whether it's good or bad. So.
My review of Man of Steel, I was like, well, Michael Shannon's great.
Yeah.
It's fucking Michael Shannon. He was probably also one of the best parts of fucking Batman v Superman. He didn't have any fucking lines in it.
Yeah,
he's still one of the best parts.
He was a corpse.
He was a corpse. Well, he's still better than Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next, so any other final thoughts on it? I think I said mine.
I highly recommend it, but be ready for something dark if you see it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you will be thinking about it after, and you will be discussing. It's definitely a movie that after you see it, you're gonna discuss it with whoever you saw it with.
Whether you like or dislike this movie, it's gonna stick with you.
Yes.
And next week is
Star Wars,
Rogue One, and La La Land, and
Collateral
Beauty.
Yeah.
Collateral Beauty also I think is next week as well. So a few stuff coming up next week. See ya.
Later.